There is a house on the edge of Coldwater, Oregon. That is the house locals will not look at directly. They drive past it, they point their children away from it. They change the subject if you bring it up at the diner on Main Street. But if you press them, if you lean in close and ask them what really happened, they will lower their voices, look toward the window, and say the same three words: the Harlow family. On the morning of October 14th, 1987, a mail carrier named Dennis Pruitt pulled up to 4 Sycamore Ridge Road and noticed something wrong. The front door was closed. The porch light was on. It had been on since the night before. The family's station wagon was in the driveway. A bicycle belonging to 9-year-old Caleb Harlow was lying on its side in the front yard. The mail carrier knocked. Nobody answered. He knocked again. Still nothing. He left the mail. He told himself it was nothing. He went home that night and couldn't sleep. The next morning, the porch light was still on. Deputy Rita Flores was the first law enforcement officer to enter the Harlow house. What she found inside would stay with her for the rest of her life. Not because it was violent, not because it was gruesome, but because of how ordinary it was. The kitchen table was set for breakfast: 4 plates, 4 glasses of orange juice, a pan of scrambled eggs on the stove, still slightly warm. The television in the living room was playing a Saturday morning cartoon. The family's 2 dogs were asleep on the couch. Upstairs, every bed had been slept in. Every bed had been left unmade. In the master bedroom, a bedside lamp was on, an open book, spine up, resting on the pillow, a pair of reading glasses folded beside it. And in every room, every single room, without exception, every mirror in the house had been turned to face the wall. Robert Harlow, 41, his wife Patricia, 38, their daughter Emma, 14, their son Caleb, 9, gone. Not a note, not a phone call, no bank transactions, no sightings, no fingerprints that didn't belong to the family. The doors had been locked from the inside. The windows were latched. The investigators spent 3 weeks combing every inch of that property and the surrounding forest. They found nothing, except one thing, discovered by a forensic technician on the 3rd day. In the basement, scratched into the concrete floor near the furnace, a single sentence, carved with something sharp, in handwriting that matched Patricia Harlow's. 6 words that would become the most debated phrase in Coldwater's history. We did not leave on our own. The case went cold within a year. Official conclusion: unknown circumstances, probable voluntary departure. The house was boarded up in 1989, inherited by a cousin who never visited, and left to become a local legend. The kind of story parents told their teenagers. The kind of place dares were made on Halloween nights. 34 years passed. The town moved on. Then, in the spring of 2021, a journalist named Mara Chen arrived in Coldwater. Mara was 32, a freelance investigative reporter who had spent the previous 4 years writing about cold cases for a true crime publication based in Portland. She had read about the Harlow family in a 2-paragraph footnote in a book about Oregon's missing persons records. Something about those 2 paragraphs had refused to leave her alone. The mirrors, the breakfast, the scratch sentence. She rented a room above Patty's Diner on Main Street, bought a used car, and began knocking on doors. Most of them didn't open. The ones that did offered very little. Careful, rehearsed answers that felt, to Mara's trained ear, like people reciting lines they had practiced a long time ago. But one door opened all the way. An 81-year-old woman named Edna Marsh. She had lived on Sycamore Ridge Road her entire life. 2 houses down from the Harlows. Edna had macular degeneration and moved slowly with a walker, but her memory was surgical. She remembered every detail of the Harlow family, their routines, their habits, the way Robert would wave from the driveway each morning, the way Patricia grew tomatoes along the back fence. And Edna told Mara something that had never appeared in any official report, something she had never told anyone, because nobody had ever asked her the the right question. 3 nights before the family disappeared, Edna had seen a light in the Harlow house at 2 in the morning. Not unusual, except that the light was coming from a window that, as far as Edna had ever known, belonged to a wall. There was no window on that side of the house. She had assumed she was confused, had assumed the medication, had gone back to sleep, but she remembered it. For 34 years, she remembered it. Mara spent 6 weeks obtaining a legal permit to access the property. When she finally entered the Harlow house in July of 2021, she brought a structural engineer, a forensic specialist, and a camera operator. The eggs had long since dried to the plates. The cartoon had long since ended. The dogs were long dead, but the mirrors were still turned to the wall, every single one. The structural engineer found the hidden room on the 4th day. It was behind the basement wall, a space approximately 8 feet by 10 feet, accessible through a panel concealed behind the furnace. Inside, a folding chair, a small table, a lantern, battery-powered, dead. And on the table, a stack of composition notebooks, 7 of them, filled front to back in Patricia Harlow's handwriting. The first entry was dated September 3rd, 1987, 6 weeks before the family disappeared. Someone has been in this house. I know because of the mirrors. It started 2 weeks ago. I would find one turned, then 2. I told Robert. He said I was doing it in my sleep. I am not doing it in my sleep. I am not. The notebooks documented 41 days of escalating terror. The mirrors turned one by one, as if by a countdown. Sounds in the walls at night. Objects moved. Food gone from the refrigerator. Messages left in the steam on the bathroom mirror. Single words, gone before anyone else could see them. Patricia had written down every word. Leave, stay, below, watch, come. She had installed locks. She had called the sheriff's office twice. Both times told there was no evidence of a break-in. She had begged Robert to take the children and go. Robert, according to the notebooks, did not believe her, or could not afford to believe her. The final entry was dated October 13th, 1987, the night before they disappeared. He has been living here, beneath us, for months, maybe longer. I found where. I found the room. I am going down now. I am taking the children. Robert does not know if anyone finds this. We did not leave on our own. Mara Chen published her investigation in November of 2021. It ran to 47,000 words across 6 installments. It named a suspect, a drifter named Leonard Voss, who had worked as a handyman in Coldwater between 1984 and 1987, and had vanished from the town's records 2 weeks before the Harlows disappeared. Leonard Voss was never found. The Harlow family was never found. The case was officially reopened by the Oregon State Police in January of 2022. As of the recording of this documentary, it remains open. Mara Chen still lives in Coldwater. She has declined all interview requests since February of 2022, when she gave a single comment to a local paper. She said only this: "I am still in the house. I keep finding the notebooks useful, especially the part about the mirrors." She was asked what she meant by that. She did not answer. 3 days after that interview was published, her neighbor, a retired school teacher named Helen Park, called the Coldwater Sheriff's Department. She said she had noticed something at Mara's house the night before. She wasn't sure. She was probably confused. But the light from the second floor window had seemed strange, coming from a part of the wall where, as far as Helen had ever noticed, there was no window. The house on Sycamore Ridge Road is still standing. The porch light, replaced by a new tenant last spring, is on tonight. It has been on since yesterday. And if you drive past slowly, if you look at the right angle as the headlights sweep across the front face of that house, You will notice something: the listing photos carefully cropped out. Every window on the ground floor reflects the street back at you perfectly, the way glass does. But the windows on the second floor do not reflect anything. They are dark in a way that windows should not be dark. As if something on the other side is absorbing the light. As if something has been very carefully turned to face the wall.